All right, ready to get back into it?
Yeah.
All right, so we just went through is the why niching based on demographic means that you missed the mark. In terms of this, we're going to talk about like niching in terms of creating a market a little bit more later. So that's going to be going into this section because it's actually part of the 3 mistakes that you did make with sales funnels. So we're going to be going through next is doubling what every client is worth to you without doubling your prices. And at the same time, pretty much we're going to go through increasing the capacity of your business to add an extra $100,000 to it. So as a foundation, what we want to understand is making sure that we're starting on the right foot, which is how do we define profit? Most people define profit as revenue minus expenses, which means that you decrease expenses and you increase revenue. If we define profit as margin multiplied by volume, it becomes so much more powerful for us because every single person that we work with gives us more margin. Now, an example of this is if you're working in a system that is limited, like if you're a subcontractor or you work for a gym. We've got a client in Singapore who will join us later. She works in a gym.
As an employee?
As an employee because she has to be in the country in Singapore because she's Australian. So that means that she's got a low margin part of her business that she has to do. Just the same as a subcontractor, you've got a certain amount of low margin that you have to do. Mm-hmm. And then the capacity, the margin becomes later when you get to a certain point. So it's the same thing. You might have a low margin service that you have to do. Mm-hmm. That's just part of business sometimes. Mm-hmm. Now, we still want to look for getting to the point where we get the most margin possible. So for a subcontractor, it's getting to that point where you take all the money. Mm-hmm. So for that, most contracts, it's like 30 sessions. In terms of her example, there were certain things that we can do to be able to increase her margin. So what we did was we want to get her to only do paired sessions because she gets an extra $10 for that time slot and she's doing too many one-on-ones. So it means that she gets a higher margin for that time slot and then starts to buy back her time. Like she decreases her earnings from there a little bit. She buys back her time and she also does high revenue, high margin services. Like in her apartment complex, she does small group training and she earns the same from 7 people in her group training sessions as she does for all of the 28 hours of contact time she does in that gym.
Scary thought, eh?
Mm-hmm. So that means that that's a necessary evil. So then we're negotiating her contract with the gym to be able to get her high margin again, to be able to increase her hourly rate and add extra services because she's done the genetic testing course. So she can then start to do that as an extra service offering, which is much higher margin and actually provides higher profit to the business as well. I'm going to talk about that when we're creating powerful partnerships later. Because what you want to do with that is you want to highlight that that business is going to get high margin by her doing that, and she then negotiates the rate to be able to get much higher margin. And this is the focus that we bring to everything. What is the margin of what I'm doing? If I'm doing one-on-one, what's the margin on that? If I'm doing groups, what's the margin on that? If I'm doing a boot camp, what's the margin on that? Because if we're playing low margin, then we're playing a volume game, which means you lose. Volume games only win if you're using technology to service it. And this is what happened in the fitness industry years ago. It's like, all right, let's play a volume game. Let's do boot camps. Let's get 40 people in a boot camp, $20 a person, good margin. And then everyone does it. And then the groups get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you get a tipping point of, well, if it's only 10 people, is it really worth your time for the travel and everything else that you put into it? So when we measure margin, it's the margin for the time that we have to put into that service. So if we think about one-on-one, is it just one-on-one? Or if it's a 1 session a week and we're doing programming for them as well, well, we have to include that in calculating our margin. But if we've got someone training twice a week and we do a program, don't we? Because we only have to do the program once. So if we're chasing revenue here, then it's like, oh, well, I got another one-on-one client. Well, that's actually low margin for a 1 session a week. You're better off putting them into 2 a week for a group training option because you get better margin. And then when it comes to the contract, it's dependent on the person. But generally what you'll find is if you're doing paired sessions, it works out better. Make sense? So when we start with margin, then we step up business for profit. Because if we chase revenue, we only get incremental changes. It doesn't build upon build. It's like, oh, I got an extra client, but one dropped off. Oh, I got a one-on-one session, but then I lost 2 boot campers. Whereas if we focus all of our marketing based on where the margin is, then anytime we get someone new working with us, it's so much more profitable because that's where the margin is. Now, one thing that I started to notice is you can market based on a low margin option and then still sell them into a high margin option. So if you're saying that you've only got 2 one-on-one spaces available, because that could be true because you could have a cap, you might put none of those people into one-on-one. You might put them all into groups, which is higher margin because people want one-on-one. They don't want groups. So if you're to advertise that you're taking on people for group training sessions, like, yeah, whatever. But if it's like, I've only got 2 one-on-one sessions and you go, we can have this or you can have this, which one do you want? And they're like, fuck, we'll take group training. It's way better value. Then you focus on what gets you more margin. Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's random.
I know. I was like, what's happening?
So when we bring the focus of margin, we set our business up for success. So what we want to determine is what's currently the highest margin area of my business. And it should come to you like that. And it becomes about determining, all right, well, what's the margin of this appointment? Because sometimes if you just look at your diary and you go, all right, let's have a look at the margin of some appointments. Well, if I think about this, what's the margin of that? Well, it's just a group coaching thing. If there's 4 people in there paying $100 each, is that better margin than a one-on-one?
Yes.
Well, it depends what your one-on-one price is, doesn't it? But that's the point. Are you focusing on growing revenue or margin? Because you don't get margin if you don't have one-on-one. Because the measurement is your time. The measurement isn't the margin, it's time. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So if we start with that focus that sets us up for success. So the question is, how often do we change? When do we change? How to change it? When do we change it? How often do we change it? How much do we change it? And in terms of going through to be able to add an extra $100,000 capacity to your business, you're going to work through a document to be able to do that. So 3 ways to increase your revenue: increase the number of clients. That means you increase the number of the time that you're working if it's a one-on-one service. If it's time leverage, like a group option, then time stays the same. You're just filling up that capacity. You're filling up that cup. You can alter the frequency of payment and the amount people pay you. And whenever we change our pricing structure, we're looking at the variables of all 3. It's not just we just increase that. It's not we just increase that or just that. It's the relationship between all of them. Because you could just double your revenue by doubling the clients all the time that you're putting in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the other option is, if we were to use it as a mathematical equation, then it's like, all right, we want to increase it by 10% every 12 weeks, 4 times a year. And the maths then becomes 120%, which is 10 by 3 ways. 4 times a year is 120% increase, having that 20% buffer. And then we look at the 7 different ways that you can do it. So you can add an extra revenue stream. And whenever you add a revenue stream, you only ever add time leveraged options. You never add one-to-one options unless it's at a high premium. Because your one-to-one service needs to be priced out of the market because you don't want one-on-one clients. If you have, like, and this is what happened with you, it's like, cool, do I want to work with my subcontractor or me because it's $5 difference? Fuck, man, I'm going to take the person with the experience. There needs to be a big gap. And the same with one-on-one to group training. There needs to be a big gap that they're like, well, I can have 2 group training sessions for the same price as one-on-one. Which one do I want? Well, I want to see it twice a week because I'm going to get better results, aren't I? That means that you start to add margin to your one-on-one and people don't choose it. And this is where the biggest margin is anyway.
I did exactly what you said, and it's increased my margin a lot. It's great. All my clients are now signing up for group training sessions 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. Great.
Yeah. And that's only short term.
It's in short term.
And what you'll notice is average client length of group training is at least 40% more than one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So it means you need less people coming in because they stay for longer. So you add your current clients to your time leverage services, which is what you did. You took them from one-on-one to groups. Mm-hmm. They end up paying around the same amount of money, but they transition across. Increase your charge out rate. If you take on a subcontractor, you have to put it up. It's a good way to do it. Increase the minimum client length. Increase the average client length. Offer upsells, add a joining fee. So you've got 7 strategies here. And it's about the relationship between all of them. So if you're a subcontractor, you can still then get to the point of working out other ways you can start to make more money. Because if then your contractor has a joining fee and you do the selling as part of that, well, then I would negotiate. Just hope Stacey doesn't watch this.
She's so lovely.
Yeah. I would then negotiate, well, if I sell them, I want the joining fee. Bit extra revenue for me. But if she sells them, she gets the joining fee. Then it's incentive on you. Then it works for both parties. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. If you offer an event to people or you sell people into an event that you do with her, well, then you can start to get more revenue. And this is the thing. People have their pricing structure and they see it as static, it doesn't change. You can alter all of these things and you can add an upsell where it's like, well, I'm going to do an event, I'm going to do a challenge, I'm going to do whatever, just to be able to get one more payment. Because if someone's paying you $100 a week and every 12 weeks you got them to pay 13 payments because you got them to do one more, which could be a joining fee when they start, could be a challenge after 12 weeks, could be something like that. Just means that you get so much more revenue for the year because if every single client pays you an extra 4 times for the year, so an extra $400 per person adds up. And if you don't have those options, then it's just looking at ways you have to do that. It's not like, right, well, I need to create 4. It's like, well, what's my first one? Cool, makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's not about your service offering, it's about the ecosystem. It's about the relationship between all of them. Because if one, like the most common one is people do, right, I'm going to do online coaching and it's going to be $50 a week and they have like a half an hour session for like $50 a week. Which one are they going to choose? They're going to take your time every single time. If they can't make it in person, cool, they're going to do it online. It just means that like whatever the one-on-one service is compared to the group training option compared to the online, there needs to be distinctions between each. And that's set for you because I've set Stacey's up for her as well. Because it sets you up for success. And it also means that based on that, because you're just starting out, your positioning is to get a few more one-on-one clients to start as you start. Because if you're taking on a subcontractor, you don't put everyone straight into groups. So you position one-on-one slightly closer to group. But then hers, when she takes on people in groups, there's a big gap because she doesn't want any one-on-one clients. They go straight to you. Make sense? So let's work through an example. So, what services do you offer?
Just one-on-one.
Just one-on-ones? And what's the minimum term that they have?
3 months.
And what's the average time that they stick with you?
Right up 3 months, sorry, 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the average time that they stick with you?
I may
So we'll call it 30. And what do you charge?
7.45. I only do 45.
Do you have a joining fee?
No.
And how many people is the maximum that you can take on?
I haven't reached it.
Yep. And what's the number though?
25.
So what's the maximum number of people that you'd work with in terms of how many sessions would you do in a week?
25.
No, like the maximum that you could ever do. Like you wouldn't do 1,000
Oh,
and you're currently doing 25. What's the number that you'd stop at? You'd stop taking people on at?
I'd maybe say 60.
60?
I'd
Yeah.
say 50. The
That is a
ideal is 50.
lot of work.
The
Cool.
ideal is 50.
That is-
25. Cool. And let's take 3. Cool. So based on that, the current capacity of your business is $3,500 a week, based on taking 50 sessions on.
Yeah.
Now, what we do is are you open to suggestion on your pricing? So the minimum client value currently is $840. Based on just a 30-week term, average is $2,100. Whenever we just put the minimum up, the average goes up organically.
Yeah.
And we want to start to track that as well so we know exactly where it's at. Because there are certain drop-off points, like 8 weeks. 8 weeks is one of the big drop-offs. So if you think about like a challenge, the biggest drop-off point is 8 weeks. Because people can be motivated for 8 weeks. They can
Why do
push
you
through.
find that? Is it like some mental thing after 8 weeks?
Yeah. So go through that actually. Remind me we have to go through the to-do list thing. I skipped over that. So at 8 weeks, people like if you think about it, it takes 21 days to create a habit, and that's to develop the neural pathway of the habit. It's not to lock it in. It takes 3 cycles of that. And what happens is most people go through the first cycle, they go through the first 21 days. The second 21 days, they start to get through. But midway through that, they just start to drop off and they start to waver. And there's this dip in motivation and then life happens. So what happens is at 21 days by 2, which is 6 weeks, that's when it starts. So that's when we start to get that drop off. They start thinking about, oh, am I really getting the results that I want? Because generally what happens is people get results here like this, and then at 6 weeks, it starts to level off just a little bit more. And they have that plateau. That's part of the process. And what happens is most people see that and they quit. It's like, oh, I got good results, and then they quit. Comparative to, it goes like this, levels off, and then it goes up again. Then it levels off, and it goes up again. Or it goes up, and it dips down a little bit, and then up, and it dips down a little bit, and then up, or it dips down a little bit. Make sense? Where did that go? I have a different screen to you. Really? Yep, good. So at 6 weeks, they've gone through 2 cycles of that. It takes 3 to lock it in. So it's like 21 days to develop the neural pathway. It takes 2 more cycles of that to create the neural pathway that becomes a superhighway that it takes work to break. That's why they have 12-week challenges, because it's locked it in that they're most likely to continue with that because it takes effort to break it. It's just based on the neural pathways that people create, and that's the biggest drop-off point that they find. If people can get through that first 21 days to start to develop that neural pathway, once it gets to that 6-week point, it's as far as most people can get, and their willpower started to run out. Their motivation has started to run out because life happens. Yeah? Make sense? So you'll notice, like with the 8-week challenge, because it's right on that point, it means that you get less drop-off. So it's actually better for marketing. So you get better results in a 12-week challenge, and people who finish it get amazing results. Yeah. But at the 8-week point, people drop off.
What?
It's pretty high.
Oh, really? I'm not a fan of 8 weeks. It's too short.
Yep. And then that's the thing you play with. Yeah. Because the longer it is, the better results you get, but the more drop off do you get. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about that in terms of marketing later as well. So it's not about the service offering that you have. It's about, that's why it's not the same. I got it. I was just sharing that one thing compared to all of it. Gotcha. All right. So, when was the last time you put your prices up?
When I went from...
Yep. Are you open to offering group training sessions?
Yeah.
So what we did was we added $10 to your price. If you're making changes and you do less than 10%, you're just going to piss people off. So it needs to go up like $10. If you put up $5, it's just going to piss people off. Because every single time you change it, you piss people off. So you've got to make it a certain amount. If it's under 10%, waste of time. So it just means that we go, all right, cool. If we make it $80 per session, we max your capacity at 30 sessions, but then you can also take on 30 people, training twice a week, doing group training. You have a group of 4 or 6 or something there. We massively increase your margin there, and your capacity is going from 3,500 to 4,800. So if we had a look at, we could take on 5 per week there. Make that a group of 6. Yeah. So what we're looking at here is that's 50 by 45-minute sessions. This would be like 40 because you only have 10 sessions per week. Because like 30 people spread out in groups of 6, it would mean that you've gone from that. So if we scroll down to see what the changes, increase 1,300 here without increasing the amount of time that we'd be putting in at capacity. I'll send this to you. So an increase, so sum up there, that's only an increase of capacity of $67,600 for the year.
Yeah.
Only.
Only.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah. And this is by one change. This is transitioning from one-on-one to groups because people don't see the impact of any change that they make. Because ultimately, we look at the impact of this as well. So if I think about that, 1,200, well, the minimum here, it's like we've gone from 840 to 1,200 minimum just by adding 3 weeks. People don't see the impact of their minimum term. When you see it as 840 versus 1,200, because it's not very motivating to go, oh, I've got a new client, they're paying me $80 a week. Pretty motivating to go, well, I just brought in $1,200 because you see what the minimum they're going to be bringing into your business over that term is. Because $80 is fucking nothing. But when we see it as, awesome, that's a minimum $1,200 that I just brought in. Oh, you're more motivated to go out and talk to people, aren't you? So I'd leave it at that to start. And then when we talk about creating a service offering based on creating some 12-month programs and options for people, then that would fill up the last 33 easy. And that's just one change. And then what I do with business coaching clients and people that I work with, you do that 4 times a year. And that means that if you then add in someone or a staff member, then that instantly changes that. So then this is gals.
Check that out. Oh,
So we've gone from capacity here, dramatically increase, and then the next phase of adding in the subcontractor. Oh, does that come up? Yeah. Does that come up? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if that's right.
no, it wasn't the same as Facebook. That's not working.
Mm. Maybe I saved it as something else.
I'm sure we added it in there, the first page.
Maybe I saved it out in the template scale. Anyway, the point is people don't see the impact of the changes. Because all that we did was we added $10 and we created the distinction of, do you want to do 2 group training sessions or 1 one-on-one? Because if someone's already paying you $70, you're like, all right, so I'm going to update my prices. Do you want to do a one-on-one session for 80, or do you want to do 2 group training sessions for 80? Well, then you just buy back your time. And what will happen is, if you're doing 25 sessions here, that might drop back to 15. But the revenue probably stays about the same. And you just bought back 5 hours of your time. Make sense? Yeah. And this is the thing. People set their one-on-one price based on the market, based on what everyone else in the gym is doing, which screws you over. Because it needs to be set based on your other options. Because when you set it based on your other options, then people choose the high margin one because you set it like that. And then your example is, yours is set to get slightly more one-on-one clients when you start. And then what I would recommend with people with subcontractors is, at a point, you want to reevaluate that and create more of a distinction between like higher one-on-one prices. So that means the contractor gets more margin, and so do you. But generally, the group training stays relatively the same because you're creating more of a distinction and it pushes more people into group training. So it's like you fill up your capacity, and when you start as a subcontractor, it's very much one-on-one based. You fill it up, and then it drops back down, but the revenue stays the same. Or the margin stays the same. Because ultimately, this is all about expanding your business capacity. So the capacity is the size of the cup. make the cup bigger, and then you fill the cup up, and you make it bigger, and you fill it up, and you make it bigger, and you fill it up. Doesn't matter. Every single business is the same. The size of the cup is your capacity. If you know the size of the cup is, you know what you're working towards. If you know your numbers, if you know that, cool, the maximum I can have of my week is 70% delivery, I'm at 50%, time to reevaluate, time to set a plan for the next change, comparative to, oh, well, this is what I started with when I came to the gym, which is what most people do. Or this is what I started with when I started in the industry. It stays the same. Well, then the capacity stays the same. And then you just play in that game of filling it up, dropping it down, filling it up, dropping it down, filling it up, dropping it down. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's get back up to this before I forget. Cool. To-do list. To-do list has 3 categories. If it has one, out of integrity, because it's open tasks, which creates stress. So we have 3 categories. That's meant to say completed, not category. It's an graphic designer. But the point is, you can only have 3 tasks a day, because you've got 3 things open. Then there's no out of integrity, and even if you only get 1 thing done, it doesn't matter, because then you pull something from ideas for the next day, and that carries across. But if you've got 20, 30, 40, 50 different things on the to-do list, it's demotivating. You get a dopamine crash. Whereas if you've got a list of things here, which are ideas, which are not open, means you can't do them today until you do these 3 things. So it's like work in progress here. Those 3 things are the only things that you can start with. Can't go on anything ideas until these 3 things are done. If you get these 3 things done, you can start pulling from here. But then it creates priorities for you. And what happens is it goes from here to completed over here. Because what happens when you take it from work in progress to completed? Dopamine. Feel good. You accomplished something. And when you've got a huge list of completed tasks you've done for the week, you get dopamine at the end of the week as well, rather than going back, what the fuck did I do this week? Because you're not aware of it. But when you've got this here, you instantly know what that is. And if you want to create a task of that, or use an app to be able to do that, you use something like Trello. So what happens is, all right, cool. What am I going to do today? I'm going to do this, this, and this. Cool. When I get that done, I push that across, dopamine. At the end of the week, I look at my completed task for the week, dopamine. If everything's here like this, that's like, say that's work in progress, and I've got all these things here. They're open tasks. Open tasks, it's the same as having like apps open in your phone. It just drains energy because you're focusing on different things. But if you've only got 3 things in here, you can manage 3 things compared to having this huge long list of ideas, which creates stress for you because they're all open. It's like having 100 browsers open. Makes sense?
Yeah.
So you get dopamine when you complete it. You get dopamine at the end of the week when you do this. And that's actually how your brain works. Most people think, all right, well, if I tick it off, I get dopamine. Well, you do, but you also get a crash when that list gets too long. So it's like, oh, I get a hit of dopamine and then I'm going to write 3 more things down, dopamine crash. You feel like shit. So your brain works based on, if I complete things, I get dopamine, I feel good. If I see all the things that I've completed, I get more dopamine. Or I get the crash of having this huge long to-do list. It's just working with how your brain works to set yourself up for success. So it's 3 different phases. This can be as long as you want. And every single day, you only get 3 priorities. And you can only take from ideas when you've done these 3 things. Make sense?
Yeah. That's good if you can't prioritize it. That's me. Oh, is that through Trello?
Yeah. It's free.
I downloaded it Calendly straight away.
Yeah. So
And
good.
upgraded straight away.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. It's like $8 a month. It's like
Yeah.
the best $8 you'll ever
Love it at
spend.
$10 a month.
Yeah. Oh, you're getting late. Oh, missed out.
Expensive. No, it's really good. Awesome. Best thing ever. Stacey and I were having a conversation about it the other day.
Right. So we'll finish that 100K off later because that just indicates, well, cool, we just added a capacity of 66. And then we talk about creating a funnel and setting your business up for success long term. We're creating packages that can fill up the rest of that. Determine what your current capacity is. We just did that for you. How to do 1 month of marketing in just 3 hours and 45 minutes. So how long do you currently think that you put into marketing? Just creating content.
An hour,
An hour.
to,
Day.
I'd say a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
Minimal.
Yep.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. So what if you could do an entire month in 3 hours and 45 minutes and have daily content?
Hit me.
So what we want to do is, I'm going to just go back to the importance of content as well. So we'll go through that in a second. Because content from an unknown is a dime a dozen, just blends in, doesn't stand out at all. Now, if you start to use that communication method that we talked about earlier, start to stand out more, and we want it to stand out even more on top of that. So we're going to talk about that more in positioning later. If you're not doing content consistently, it gets zero reach. It's as simple as that. We talked about the context before. That's marketing to people based on their psychographic. We talked about that before. So we create solutions to that by building influence, because that's more power, posting content daily, because that's king, context and relevancy becomes queen, because then content becomes currency, because it's the gateway between someone having no idea who the fuck you are and paying you money. It's as simple as that. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we just walk them through the process of, they don't know who we are, we give them an offer, they make an inquiry and they do business with us. If it's that 3 steps, they're only going to pay us $200. And that's why every single gym has a 3 personal training pack or whatever that is under $200. Yeah.
Instantly do not use personal training.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later too.
I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead.
And what you'll notice is anything that you don't know who it's from, or you don't know them, or they haven't paid you money in the past, it's going to be under $200.
Backpacks are $199.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason for that.
Because I'm $200.
Mm-hmm.
People stingy.
No, they just don't know, like, and trust you enough. That's the thing. So we build that up by going from unawareness to knowing who we are. Because if they don't know who we are, then they can't do business with us. And then we push them through a certain amount of content so they become open, so that when we offer them something that's $200 to $2,000, they're actually willing to do it. And because Go is not willing to put in that much marketing to be able to go through this point, then they can't instantly just go, right, well, we don't know who this trainer is, so I'm not going to be willing to pay more than $200.
We don't see anyone anyway. So.
Yeah. So it's like maximizing their revenue stream.
Their revenue stream.
Yeah. So then that's based on the mirror exposure effect. So you can Google that. Zero moment of truth, which is a study by Google, understanding that people are going to be spending more than $2,000. They need to have gone through 7 hours of content, 11 touch points, and the mirror exposure effect. So they become open, that when you put an offer in, they're willing to make an inquiry. Then it's just about pushing people through this process, and how far you push them through it determines how much they're willing to invest with you. So that's just the foundation of that. We know that level 0, because there isn't a no, like, and trust factor, it's $200. We build up to a certain point, they're willing to invest $200 to $2,000. Level 2 then becomes $2,000 plus. Now, if you're looking at then getting people to the point of investing $2,000 plus, like creating a 12-month program for people, well, they need to have gone through these first. So that means you need to have worked with them for at least 7 hours of content, or 7 hours of training, or an all-day event. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you think about this, you can do this very easily just through whatever social media, Facebook, Instagram. You can easily get people to here. It takes a little bit more.
Mm.
And it's important to then know that if people have gone to this first, to give them this option. Because ultimately, if you've had people who are working with you for like 18 months or something, have you given them an offer to work with you for the next 12 months? Because then that's going to be that, and you need to get them to commit, and it could be a good hit of cash. But if you don't offer it, then they're not going to take it. Make sense?
Yeah.
So in terms of pushing people through that content, we understand that this is the most commonly used. This is what everyone does, and it takes the least amount of time to consume. And just works backwards. This becomes the most powerful because it takes the longest to consume and the least amount of people do it. Yeah, if you're presenting to people, you're instantly positioned by. If you have a podcast, they're consuming a lot of content because the time here is the measurement. Because if someone goes through an hour podcast, well, then they have to go through 7 to be willing to spend more than $2,000 of this. But if they're going through written, and I will test each of these. In certain groups, I'll only do videos. In certain business, parts of my business, I only do written. If you were to compare those two. And what you'll notice is, if you're doing written, you actually get a higher conversion on business because less people do it, and it's better in terms of time. Make sense? So then the goal is, all right, well, if I'm doing one post every second day, and I'm trying to get people to go through this, how long does it take them to get through 15? It takes them a month. If I do one post a day and I've got to get through 15, how long does it take? Just over 2 weeks. If I'm then doing 2 posts a day, how long does it take? 1 week. So the time it takes people to go through our content determines the likelihood of them doing business with us as well. So we're trying to compress down that time that it takes to go from here to here to here. Because technically, if you had to get someone through to this level, well, you could run an entire day event, couldn't you? 7 hours, run on the weekend. This is what we're going to talk about in terms of nutrition. This is what we're going to talk about in terms of training. This is what we're going to talk about in terms of mindset. Well, if they've gone through 7 hours, well, then you could potentially pitch them something that's more than $2,000. Or you walk them through, you start them here, they pay $200, and they pay this, or they pay this. None of them are right or wrong. It's just you choose which way they go. And sometimes they might go from here to here. But if you know that you have a goal of getting them to invest more than $2,000, you need to get them through 7 hours. Now, another way that you could look at doing that is, all right, so I'm going to do group training, right? So for the first 2 weeks, you have to do 3 sessions. Because then that's like, say, 6 hours of content. So then I can go, all right, well, now I'm going to pitch you a 12-month program. And this is just the way that we think about it. We have these foundations. Where does someone come in? They come into that price point based on how much content they've gone through, how much time they've had with this. Because this, we can pitch 15 hours. Oh, sorry, you could say this is just like an hour because you could just do that in a consult. Because you can pitch them $200 to $2,000 in a consult because you just put an hour into them. And this is what happens. The fitness industry goes here or here. That's it. Don't even think about this. And This is where the margin is. So most people, they're focused on this. And most people are like, all right, I'm going to create this online program. It's going to be $200 and I'm going to get 200 people to do it and make all this money. Well, there's no fucking margin in that, is it? You're playing a volume game and you're losing. Comparative to, well, cool, I'm going to get 20 people to go through this, knowing that 5 people are going to go through this, and I'm going to get 1 person that jumps on this for the next 12 months. Because it's a numbers game. And if you only offer these 2 things, you're missing margin. Make sense?
Yes.
So how would you create a month of content in 3 hours and 45 minutes? So let's have a think about it. Yeah, exactly. But the whole point is, if I've got content going out every single day, at least some of those people are going through this.
Yeah.
And what I did when I was doing online coaching was I didn't do this. I only allowed people to come in here or in here. Because when you're playing this, you're playing a volume game and you're getting compared to every single other person out there. So I could come do my 8-week challenge for $200. Well, then you get paid compared to every single other 8-week challenge out there.
Yeah.
Which means, well, cool, you only get compared on price and then it's a race to the bottom. Or you understand this, and it's like, well, if I can get people to go through this as fast as possible, then I know that they're going to be willing to invest $200 to $2,000 with me, like that. And if you know what your minimum client value is, well, it's like, all right, how much content do I need to get people through to get them to commit to that without having to do this? Make sense? So it's a six-step process. And again, just like the to-do list, we do it based on how our brain works, because most people try and work against how their brain works, which holds them back. It's like, I'm going to sit down for the next 3 hours and 45 minutes and fucking get this marketing done. Who the fuck has 3 hours and 45 minutes straight to do marketing? No. So why the fuck would you try and do it as a block? So what we do is we have 6 steps. Step 1 is you determine what the idea is or the theme. That's day 1. So it takes you 15 minutes. Day 2 is you map out every single piece of content for that month. That takes you 60 minutes. I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. Day 3 is, I recommend doing this based on just doing 60-second videos so you can post to Instagram and Facebook. You record those videos, 60 minutes. Day 4, edit all those videos, 60 minutes. Day 5, schedule the videos, 15 minutes. Day 6, distribute all those videos, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever it is. So we map out the theme or the idea. So we go, all right, cool. I'm going to create a marketing campaign for the next month, which is going to be my next month, which is going to be, right, I'm going to be working for people who are looking at being gym owners or subcontractors. And I understand what their problems are. I know that training and development is a problem. I know that their mindset, I know that their time management, I know that not knowing their numbers is a problem. I know it, that's just an extra bonus thing. I know that sales sucks for them. So I create a theme, which could be, for you, 7 hiring mistakes, could be 7 nutrition mistakes. Or it's like 7 failures of people eating through winter. Because then it becomes topical and people are like, oh, okay, 7 mistakes that people make after Easter. Because then I've got 7 posts.
Yeah.
So then it's like, all right, cool. This is day 1. It's just determining what the theme is. Because what happens is, if you try and work out every single post, you're using your conscious brain, which is 5% of your brain capacity. Ever been like driving along or been in the shower or something, and you're like, oh, that's what that person's name was?
Yes.
That's because that's your subconscious brain has been working on it in the background. So if you're working in the 5% of the capacity, you're like, all right, well, I've got to think about all these things. I'm using 5% of my brain. But using my subconscious brain, I'm allowing all of these things to develop in the background. So over the next 24 hours, I'm using my subconscious, and then all of these things start to come to me. Oh, well, I could put that there, or I could put that there, or I could put that there. So you spread it out. So day one is, what's the idea or the theme? Them. And then you map it out. Cool. Well, what are the themes? What are the posts? Right. No incentive for staff to stay, hiring in the wrong order, not understanding the role that will attract them, no one in the hopper for recruitment, hiring because they have to. And then you can just start to map out, all right, well, this is the idea, this is the theme. How do I then get different individual posts? Because a post covers one thing. If it covers more than one thing, people don't remember. So then it's like, right, cool, not knowing numbers, let's talk about the numbers in terms of leads, appointments, presentation, sales. Well, I can talk about LAPS, L-A-P-S. I can create a framework for that. So that's like 1 video, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's talk about not knowing the numbers for members. All right, what's the margin? How many members are at risk? How many true fans do we have? Well, then there's 4 videos there. Let's talk about financials. They don't know what their capacity is. They don't know what the waterline is where they're currently sitting. They don't know what their break-even point is. They don't know what their break-even point is for them to hire the next person. And if you think I sat down for 3 hours and 45 minutes to be able to map this out in one day, no. I went back and I went, all right, what are the themes? And then over the next 24 hours, these are being worked on in the background because my subconscious is starting to build them up.
Do you have a notebook next to your bed?
No.
Oh, I do. Because sometimes I'm laying there like, I remember that.
But then that's how our brain works. We can try and work against our brain all day, every day, and it just becomes frustrating. Mm-hmm. Or we can know, well, my conscious brain is only going to give me this 5% of my capacity, or I can work with it here. And I can also know that, well, I don't have 3 hours and 45 minutes to be able to block out of my diary to be able to do it every month. But if I had to do this in the last week of every month for the next following month, well, then it sets me up, doesn't it? Because then it's like, all right, cool, it's the last week of the month. That means that this day I have to schedule 15 minutes. I have to schedule 60 minutes here, 60 minutes here, 60 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here. Oh, shit happens. Oh, well, I missed one day. Well, it took me a week instead of 7 days, 6 days. Easy. And it's just going through that process. So if you want to learn how to map that out, that is called Simple Mind. You can get a free version of it to be able to use that, which is this here, which you can then map things out just like this. So there's that one. You can map out different business content here. This is a different Facebook group that I run different content for. So I have multiple different groups where I do this for. So this is a completely different revenue stream for me. Mindset coaching. That's business coaching for the next month. A lot of that is for this month, the mindset.
What was it called?
Simple Mind. So just Google Simple Mind map and it'll come up. And then you can start to map out anything. It's like, well, here's a funnel that I've created for my mindset group. Here's another thing that I've created. All right, this is some content that I'm going to create about burnout because it's a common thing. This is a podcast that I created on meditation. This is a previous marketing campaign that I did earlier in the year. This is a branding representation. It's an old one. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Then it's just like, all right, cool. We mapped it out. Then it's like, right, let's have a look and see if we can put that in for each day. All right, cool. Yeah. This is all the content's going to go out. Do I have 30 posts? What does 30 posts take? It takes 4 different themes by 7, it's 28. And then if you do 4 posts priming what that thing is going to be about, it's like, well, seven reasons why eating clean is making you fat or something. Well, then the first video is, this is what this theme is going to be about. And then the 7 after that are the posts. So every single theme then gets 8 posts. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Does it work? When Alex did this, it's like, this is the first week I've ever followed a marketing plan and it's been the best. Lots of inquiries, 3 new signups, and good post engagement.
No.
Yeah. Does it work, Corey?
Is that what you wanted?
Yeah. Does doing content daily work?
Double your work?
Does it work? Do you get more leads?
Oh, a lot more leads.
Yeah.
More than twice.
Yeah. And is it easier to plan it out like that rather than doing it, all right, what content do I need to post today?
Yeah, because you've already got your subject there.
Yeah.
So all you need to have to think about, once you've got your subject, it just runs from there. It's easy to put your content together.
Mm-hmm. So all that you're doing is just building that foundation. So if you don't have consistency, nothing else matters. But when you've got consistency, then we can start to talk about everything else. Because you've got to graduate from consistency to everything else to be able to get better results from your content. So it starts with that foundation of consistency. Then you start to work on quality of content and infotainment. If it's informative and entertaining, it's going to be much more shareable and engaging. The caption becomes essential because that determines whether someone actually consumes that content or not. The quality becomes one of the least important things. The time of day, least important. And if someone asks, what time of day should I post? It means they're not consistent instantly because they're looking for the instant fix. Did anyone see on the 1st of April, the viral video by Virgin Active and Virgin Australia? They're putting spin bikes in domestic flights. It was 1st of April.
Oh, yes, okay.
April Fools.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Didn't look.
Yeah. But the point was they posted that at 2 o'clock in the morning and it went viral. Why? Because time of day is irrelevant, really. Because if someone's awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, they're actually consuming content. Does that mean you always post at 2 o'clock in the morning? Well, no. And it doesn't become as relevant because if people are up at 2 o'clock in the morning, chances are they're going to like it, interact with it. And then it gets legs for 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then it hits peak 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and it gets that peak, and then it gets the next peak later in the day. Yeah, because when you're posting, it's not posting about when the peak is. It's posting, number one, before that, so it gets legs through that time frame. And it's also understanding just because it's peak time doesn't mean people interact. Because if you're on your phone at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or someone's going home, they're scrolling at that time. They're not stopping. They're scrolling. As soon as 7, 8 o'clock goes, they've been scrolling for a while. They won't actually stop. And you'll notice that if you post something at like 9 o'clock at night, there's a lot of interaction quickly, which means it might get legs to the next morning. Same thing can happen during the day or in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. So you don't post for peak time. You post for when it's going to get legs. And if it's good enough content, if you've got all this sorted, you can post at 2 o'clock in the morning and it can still go viral. Make sense? Mm-hmm. You've got to start with the foundation. If you don't have consistency, you've got nothing. Because it doesn't matter how good the content is. If it's not getting that consumption to be able to push people through that process, it doesn't matter. Because this is the only reason why we're doing content. Because content becomes currency. And if we want more currency, we have to get them through more content to be able to get them to this point. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Does that help give you a framework to be able to walk through that process? Do you want to do that over 6 days to create a month of marketing in 3 hours and 45 minutes? Because what most people do is they go, all right, well, I've got to do content daily, so I've got to think about, all right, what am I going to post about today? If you're thinking about it today, you're already behind. If it's coming up and it's April and you've already got your marketing done for May, can you stress about it?
No.
Not really, because it's already done. But if you wake up every morning thinking, all right, I've got to post today. Oh, what am I going to post about today? Oh, let's see what my clients are doing. And you just think about it all day and it just becomes a stress for you. If it's done, you can do more. And this is just a foundation. Because when you've got it mapped out like this, is that all the content that you do? Well, if something random comes up and you're like, I could do some content on that, you can add it on top of that 30 days. Then people are going through that process at a faster rate. Because if you're just doing one post a day, well, could be 14 days it takes to go through it. But if you did one post every single day, but you put an extra post in there just even once a week, well, the speed at which they go from here to here can increase. And there are certain things that you can start to do to automate this based on content that you've already created. Because I have certain things that when people come into my ecosystem, they instantly go into an automatic thing where they automatically get extra posts. So they see what I'm posting out daily and they automatically get an extra one every single day or an extra two every single day, depending on how many times they click through. Because if they're getting 2 a day, I just double the rate from them going from here to here to here. And speed wins in business. Because you could drag this out 7 hours, someone training with you once a week, that could be 7 weeks before someone is willing to invest that with you. Or it could be a day. You run a whole day event, there's 7 hours. Boom. Cool. Let's talk funnels. So we just went through how to hack to do 1 month of marketing in just 3 hours and 45 minutes. So we're going to talk about the 3 mistakes every PT makes when creating sales funnels, and the mistakes that I made too. So does anyone have a sales funnel set up in their business?
Do you push everything? Sort of.
Everyone does. It's just that it isn't systemized. Are people aware of every single step? Do people know what it takes to be able to get them from step 1 to step 2? Do people know the numbers to be able to push them through? Because ultimately, that's part of a sales funnel. Because people go from here, unawareness, to awareness, where they can give you details, or pay you up to $200. That's part of the process. Now, you can skip this part or this part if you choose to go straight to here, so long as you've got that process set up to push them through. Make sense? Everyone's got a sales funnel. It's just whether they have it systemized or not. Because ultimately, what most people do is they don't have it systemized. It's this and this, which is, all right, a hack at the gym or a consultation. That's it. That's their sales funnel. And it takes time to convert that person because you've got to take them through 3 sessions. And it takes an hour to convert that person at least. And then it's like, oh, I want to get 10 new clients. Well, I've got to put at least 10 hours into being in front of people here. Because if I'm sitting in front of one person at a time, it's going to take me 10 appointments to get 10 people minimum. So what a sales funnel does is we start to automate the way this goes through. So if we look at the example that I had on here before, so then this becomes an automated process for my mindset. People either go from a Facebook ad or they come in organically, but then they get access to a 7-day course, which gets them through a certain amount of content automatically. They don't have to do, which they also get the daily content. So after a week, they can automatically get an offer for a call because they've gone through a certain amount of content here. Or same thing here. They get content daily. They also get a second post every single day that automatically gets sent to them. And at certain points, they get the offer to jump on a call again. Do you have to do anything for that? Well, I have to create that process, and then it becomes automated. So what are the steps? Every funnel has these processes, whether you're aware of it or not. People have to go through free and this to get to this. And what happens is in the fitness industry, people's core offering is not really a core offering, it's still here. Because if someone's paying you, even for small group training, it's still here. So what people need to go through then is free content. The next step is they have to give you their details or pay money to move to this next step, which is a product or prospect or a low barrier. They have a sales conversation to then jump into our core offering. And one-on-one for 12 weeks or small group training is not a core offering. That's still up here. And the fitness industry's businesses are based on this, not this, which means they get screwed over. This is where the money is really made. Product for customer. Now, most people aren't even here, let alone here. So let's have a look at a couple of examples. Apple. What does Apple give us for free?
Nothing. Oh, wait, one little apple here.
What do they give us for free?
Ads.
Ads.
Yeah. That sounds terrible, doesn't it?
They use iTunes.
Do it?
Yeah.
I don't even use iTunes.
But that was the original thing that they gave us for free.
Okay.
Because Steve Jobs came in and they're like, all right, let's develop all this technology. And he's like, yeah, we can do that. But if we don't give them something for free, they can't take the next step.
I don't even use iTunes.
Yeah. 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 But the whole point is creating the opportunity for people to go from there to there. So then what's a low barrier offer for Apple? So,
A song,
sorry?
like a song.
No. So we're going to think about, right,
Product.
because that's technically not theirs.
Yeah.
So if we think about low barrier, we're thinking it's in that mid-range. So it's like $200 to $2,000 in this case. So what is available from Apple is $200 to $2,000.
Phones, watches.
Cool. So is that their core business? Is that where they make a lot of their money?
No.
Where do they make their money?
Don't.
They only become a customer when you get connected to the cloud, because everything links and people buy multiple things when they're connected to the cloud. If it's an iPod, they're not connected to the cloud. If it's an iPod Shuffle, they're a prospect still. They don't even treat them as a customer. As soon as you've got an iPhone, what do you normally get?
Yeah.
As soon as you've got one of those, do you get an iPad? Well, it just links. It's easy. You may as well just fucking get the same brand, hey, because then everything links.
So true. It's so true.
Yeah.
I have all those things.
Yeah.
I don't like my Apple though.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's the thing. How many people have a Mac but not an iPhone? Do you think that's an accident? It's like the most profitable company in the world. Do you know what the margin is on an iPhone? Do you know how much it costs to make an iPhone?
No idea. I know how much it costs to buy one. Outright.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It costs under $50. They have the highest margin on any product available.
Yet people still buy them.
Because of the system. No, that's not. We can talk about other businesses. We can talk about other businesses as well.
It would be the same with a lot of like
Successful businesses,
Yeah.
yes. So, cool. What's their core offering? The cloud. So where do they make all their money? Because that's not where they make all the highest margin. That's not where they make the most money. They make it here.
Don't know.
Exactly.
Don't know. Is it perfect customer?
Yeah. Do you know? Yeah. Apps. Because they don't create any of them. It doesn't cost them anything to make. They get 30% of every single app that is sold.
30%.
So they do nothing. They have a store where just, it's like an ATM. Something goes in the store, they get a cut, they get a cut, they get a cut, they get a cut, they get a cut. 30%, 30%, 30%, 30%. How many apps have you paid for on your phone?
None, actually. I don't actually pay for apps.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't cost them anything. It's all margin. All margin.
Holy shit. Yeah, right here.
Awesome. Let's go again. BMW. What do they give us for free?
Don't. Nothing. Test drives.
Now you have to give me details for a test drive. They sponsor events.
Do they?
BMW actually sponsors Gold Class, if you notice that.
No.
There's BMW marketing all over Gold Class in their menu in Gold Class cinemas.
Really?
BMW.
I need to know.
If you think about car racing, a lot of it
Oh,
is
yeah,
sponsored
fair
by BMW. If you think about yacht racing, well, people who have yachts have a lot of money, so they sponsor that.
Yeah.
They give that to people for free.
Yeah.
You give details, you might get some merchandise or something. You might get a test drive because you had to give your details, your license number, and everything for that.
Yeah.
Sales conversation, what's their core?
Car.
The car, yeah. Where do they make all their money? It's not the cars.
It'd be something like servicing or something like.
No, not servicing. That's
No.
still the core here.
Oh. It'd be something ridiculous like an app, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy
That's the
one.
point.
Yeah.
Because they're already customers here. Because these people go here.
Yeah.
They don't even get sold. They're pre-sold. They instantly go to here. So what do they need? What is someone going in? All right, I want a BMW. What do I need?
Money.
Financing. That's
Finance.
one.
Very cool. Yes.
And what's the other thing that you need? What happens if I crash? What do I need?
Insurance.
Boom. Insurance and financing is where they make their money.
Yes. That's why they can afford to give that 1%, whatever it is that they advertise. 1% difference in their insurance.
Yeah.
Do you know how much you actually pay for insurance in the end? A lot of money.
Mhm.
It is a lot of money. I used to do insurance.
And again, they don't even own the insurance or the financing. They just take a percentage. It costs them nothing.
BMW does have a finance. Isn't it BMW finance or something?
Yeah.
But that's through.
But they don't own it.
Yeah, that is through the company.
And what happens is, eventually when you create a business, if you've got this, you've got everything, because then you can go straight into here. If you've got the numbers here, you can go across. So, how many companies does Richard Branson own?
2.
Over 400.
I know.
Does he do any work in any of them?
Hell
Probably
no.
like one.
No. He has a core, and then Virgin Money, he just puts his label on it. He doesn't pay anything. They use his brand, and he takes a cut. Virgin Mobile, same thing. Virgin Active, he owns. Again, more core here, then they can on-sell everything in there. Because they're already customers. They don't need to be sold. It's just like, oh, well, I need financing. Cool, let's go do that. That's where the money's made. And PTs live here.
Yeah, we do.
You don't even have a call.
Is now when I cry. That's insane.
Hmm?
I'm still stuck on that apps. I don't pay for anything. I don't pay for apps.
Yeah. And that's the
They
thing.
still make money on it. That's crazy.
Because when you've got this and you've got the numbers behind it, when you've got millions of people using those phones, you can just create a store and boom, money. Why can Uber instantly go from, oh, I'm going to do this to Uber Eats, boom, instantly take a cut. They create a core. They can instantly go across, put in a new service offering, and basically just go, all right, well, we're going to take 30% of this or 20% of this or whatever it is, boom, instantly billions of dollars. Why? Because they set this up properly.
It didn't take them long to get from the core to.
Yeah, because they followed this process. Because it's like free. Oh, we're going to give you $10 to take your first Uber ride. We'll give you a $10 voucher. Did they do that?
I don't know.
I think the first one was free when it first started.
Yeah, because then you're in the system.
I've actually only ever used one Uber.
Yeah.
And then somebody in the club actually drives as Uber, so I just pay him cash.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And then what happens is, cool, well, then you're in the system. Then you become core because you're a regular user of Uber. And then it's like, oh, well, fuck, it just links to my Uber Eats. I'm hungry. Boom.
See, I live up at Ormo. Hey, no Uber Eats there.
You'd be surprised.
I've checked. I've checked.
But that's the thing. Where's your business? Boom. And you got to start there, by all means. And the point is, now that you're aware of it, it's like, all right, well, how do we create a core? Guess I'll keep that one to myself then, eh?
No, I want to know tummy down. I want to be the next Steve Jobs, but in PT.
And alive.
And alive, yeah. And very healthy.
Yeah. So you're going to quit after a couple of years and go to India and get stoned and stuff as well, then, like you did?
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, let's do it. Just
No,
Sign me.
that really doesn't do much for me.
Just go way back, no problem.
awesome. So let's have a look. If we were building out a retreat, so I've got a client that's building out retreats.
Really?
Yeah. So do we then give free content? Yeah, well, we do. That's part of the process. But then they have to give details to ever come to an event or a webinar, because that's the next step. That's the low barrier product for prospect. When they have a sales conversation, it goes into the core, because a retreat is a core offering. Then they become pre-sold into what the following thing would be. What would that be?
A retreat.
A retreat's the core. What would the product for customer or client be?
I mean, something for a retreat.
Nope. No idea.
I'm out of ideas. Come on, guys. Keep on talking.
You gonna tell us what it is, Corey? Do you know?
Some type of ongoing product that they'll continually buy that's sold at
Yep.
this.
And who would buy that?
Who would buy it?
Yep.
People on the retreat.
Yep. And what kind of people on the retreat?
People who have been pre-sold. Is that what you're getting to?
Yeah, that's part of the process. That's the next step.
Yeah.
But if you've got 20 people that come to a retreat, who's going to come? Business owners? High-flying executives? Well, what do they need? Well, they need corporate training, don't they? It's going to be going for the next 12 months, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's not about this, is it? Most people are still playing up here. You get 100 people to a retreat over a year, I guarantee that at least 10 of those people would be looking for something afterwards for their staff.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that long term?
The whole point is like, is that the end of it? Well, no. Well, then you can go multiple layers of that. But the whole point is most people live here. We're talking about here, and they have a long-term focus of, all right, well, what's this going to be as well? Do we put any time, energy, and effort into this? No. But if we know that our goal is, well, this is part of the process. This is going to take us to a business which is going to be adding, like if I was to run a retreat with 10 people at 10K each, that's an extra 100 grand to my business. Well, cool. But then I know if I've got 100 people, because again, you look at the numbers, if I've got 100 people that go through a retreat, well then I might get 10 here.
That's 10 people there.
And if I've got 10 here, I might get 1 here. But if I've got someone who's going to pay me 100 grand to come into their corporation and do work for them, for one person, yeah, and I need to get 10 people through here. But do you even have that option for people? Do you even have that option for people? And then we determine, all right, what's the process to be able to create this in your business? Because at the moment you're playing here. Make sense?
Yeah.
So how much are you going to pay me to tell you the answer? No, it's a joke. We go through it next. But what are your faces?
Oh, is this where he sell us?
So let's have a look at another example. So,
I can't even see that.
so again, I'll read it to you. So it's like, this is an example of a retreat funnel.
Mhm.
Oh, so this is a different one. So these are 2 different funnels in my business then. So it's like 7 video series, which is then how to break through the glass ceiling. Then people give me the details and they jump on a webinar. So the webinar is then like how to create $100,000 revenue in 12 months, an extra, how to add $100,000 revenue. And they jump into a sales conversation, which they pay for.
We nearly had that just then, by the way, guys.
Sorry?
I said we nearly had that then. Sales conversation.
Sales conversation, because if then they pay for it, then they're basically paying for you to sell to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an application process. And then they jump in something that could be like a 12-month program, like my peak performance program. Is that the end of it?
No.
So what's the next step then? What's this?
Ongoing business coaching.
Well, if that's like a 12-month program, then that's part of it. Cool. And that's the thing, you've got to get a certain number of people to be able to go through that. But then if you can then use something here that then adds to this, because what happens is when you create this, people start asking for what they want here. You don't really need to think about it because they're going to ask for it. Because these people, there's a certain number of people that go through any program that are looking for the next level. And it's the same in your business. There's people that are going through this that are looking for, well, if you offer a 12-month program, I'll jump on it because they're pre-sold. You're not giving them that offer. And what happens is if you get people through a certain program, what happens? Well, they instantly ask you for certain things.
Something where you don't have to do it.
And, well, technically you can have different levels in this as well. So let's have a look at a core offering, BMW. How many different cars do they have? Do they have a gold, silver, bronze? Like a 7 series?
Membership.
7 series, which is like gold. 5 series, silver, bronze. 1 series. So people then in this can also get different options as well. And then it becomes a business that is set up for scale rather than, all right, let's play here. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I think we're up to the next mistakes. What are the mistakes when people create this? Well, the number one thing is they only go to here. And that's not even one of the biggest mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes is creating it out of order.
Creating out of order.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, I'll start here, or I'll start here, or I'll start here, or I'll start here. Which one's right? Where do you start, Corey?
What's the question?
Where do you start? If you're creating a funnel, do you start at free? Do you start at P for P? Do you start at core? Or do you start at product for customer?
When you are starting your funnel.
Yeah.
You,
Where do you think you start?
Free.
Yeah, that's what most people say.
I wouldn't say free. I'd say maybe more around the middle to the pointy part.
Middle to the pointy part.
and if you had to put a name on one of those steps, what step would that be?
Core.
Correct. Start with the core. Yeah. Because if the free doesn't link to this, it's disconnected. Doesn't matter. Because if you give away some random free app, but it doesn't link into the cloud or your iPod or whatever, well, why the fuck are they going to get this?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm going to create a video series, which is like, 7 nutrition hacks to then join a PT program. Well, it's got nothing to do with that. They need to be linked, and you start with the end in mind. And this is level 1. That up. Make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So is that really where we start? Or is there a step before that as well?
Mind games.
And this is the thing, like,
You have to have something for them to want to start engaging.
Is it that? Because isn't that just like something free here? So what starts before that?
Getting the details.
Well, that's it. What starts before this?
Well, making content.
Interesting.
Well, they've got to know about you, I suppose. But I'm grasping at straws here.
Well, you need to have a niche here first, because otherwise it doesn't matter what content you create. If it's not someone who can pay for this, it doesn't matter. And if it's not someone who actually wants this, it's like, oh, I'm going to talk about nutrition when this is a program for PTs. Well, fuck. The niche is not connected to all these things, because that creates the foundation of it. That's why we start talking about niches at the start, to start to think about that. And if we think about, what was that thing that we talked about before? It was out of water. How 97% of PTs miss 66% of the market and how to be part of the 3%. That's because people choose their niche wrong. Or out of water. And we can talk about what that is soon. And what do you think the 3 factors of determining a niche are?
Skills are, experience.
Kind of. You're kind of touching on one minute.
And you relate to the niche.
Yeah, that's what she's touching on, which is affinity. What else?
Clients want, people want. Need.
Yeah, close.
So close.
So affinity, ability to transform, and ability to pay a premium. That's it. So where do you start? Which one is the most important? Affinity, ability to transform, or ability to pay a premium? Ability to transform? What do you guys vote for?
That's it.
Affinity? Yeah?
I'd probably say ability to pay.
Four, I guess.
So there's a specific order. 1, 2, 3. Because if they can't pay you, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, doesn't.
And we proved at the start that I can still get a high affinity to someone who's a female powerlifter. And every single person goes, I'm going to work with this age group because I'm part of that age group and I can connect with those people. And if they don't have an ability to pay a premium, it doesn't mean shit. And this becomes mistake number 1. They prioritize connection or affinity with that person over ability to pay a premium. Because it's easier to go from the top down to create exclusivity in your product than it is to go from the bottom up. And your niche is where you start, not where you end. Where did Richard Branson start? Yeah, records. Where did Apple start? Yeah, computers. Legit. I did, yeah. Where did BMW start? Cars. Yeah. And that's the thing. Because if you don't go from the top down, you miss the top third, which is what you miss. Because if you go from affinity, well, then you only work with people who connect and you miss that third. And if you go based on this, well, cool, they might not have the ability to pay premium. So it's like, oh, I want to transform people. I'm going to transform truck drivers because they're fat and lazy. And they pay you money. Do you connect with them? No. Well, I'm a yoga instructor. What's my ability to be able to work with other yoga instructors? Well, can I really transform them? Or am I going to get like a little change? Mm-hmm. They might be willing to pay a premium. But the whole point is, it's the relationship between all three, and it starts with the ability to pay premium because we're looking for this. And the priority comes from here because if you miss that, then you miss that point in the market. Make sense? What else we got here? Cool. So, determining our niche. The only thing that we add in that we didn't talk about before is income. Because they need to have a minimum income if we're providing a product which is a core product. And we're going to talk about what a core product is soonish. Maybe after lunch, we'll see. How are we traveling so far?
Mine's up doing laps.
Sorry? Mine's doing laps. Remember the first time we talked about this, Corey?
Too much shit.
Do you remember this in Sydney?
Yes.
She's just like in the first like half an hour, she's just like, oh my God, this is amazing. What have you been on my life? I'm like, oh, it's just the beginning. This is just entry level.
And it was.
Yeah. So we've already created what our niche is going to be. And is our age bracket someone who has the ability to pay a premium? Because if you're under 20, students, 20 to 30-year-olds, well, it depends on your offering. If you're doing a retreat, well, 32 to 40-year-olds are probably going to be your primary market, or even older. And what we want to understand is your target is not your market. Now, what I mean by that is target is who you speak to in your marketing. But if you hit the dartboard, you still get points and you still get clients in there. So when you're marketing to your target, to your perfect person. And if someone falls into just these two, well, that's still your target at this point here. Oh, sorry, that's your target. This becomes your market. These crossover points. And what you'll notice is, even though you target this, the majority of your clients come from here. But if you miss one point in here, you miss that whole section, which means you miss a third of the market. Get that?
Yeah.
And every single person's like, oh, let's do Affinity, got to transform them. And I'm like, oh, yes, how much are they going to pay you? Oh, no, they're on Centrelink. Oh, okay. And this is the thing. People go, all right, well, I'm this level of success. I'm going to go against people who are this level of success as well. No, you create the target here, which is the perfect person that you want to work with, knowing that most of the people that you work with are going to be in the market, which are these sections. And sometimes you might only get this. You might have zero connection to them at all. You might have zero ability to pay a premium, but they're just super motivated and they just love to transform areas of their life. Cool. Awesome. Let's work with them. But the point is, you bring just this or just this, you only get this area over here, and they don't have the ability to pay the premium, so you miss 30% there, 30% there. So when we have our target, that's the bullseye, or that's the triple 20, and we still get points. Do you lose if you hit the dartboard? No, you still get points. Make sense?
Yes.
And this is what we do in our marketing, because it's all well and good to create marketing that's like, oh, my 7 hacks for people to eat well after Easter. Well, if you just added entrepreneurs to that, or you've added a potential ability to pay a premium, because they're going to be willing to invest in themselves compared to someone who's just got a normal job or something. Or 7 hacks after Easter for corporate executives. Only change one thing, which is the most important thing, the ability to pay a premium. Questions with that? So you can see how the majority of PTs, 97% of people, miss that or that. At least a third of the market.
I don't understand why somebody would continue the conversation with it. Okay. So,
What do you mean?
like, well, when I'm doing my sales, I suppose, with my clients, I ask them in that what they do for it. And then it determines where I put that client if they wanted to join. Whether I don't understand that would be like the first question.
Yeah. And still short term. Because even if someone's in front of you and they don't have the ability to pay a premium, I guarantee they know someone who does. And just because someone comes in here investing $200, we can service them to the highest capacity possible because they know someone who's ready to jump in here or jump into a 12-month program who has the ability to pay a premium. Because every single person you come in contact with is one away from your target. And then if someone comes in here, you know they're not going to jump across here or here. Well, you know that they know the person who's going to jump across here or here. So is it then worth your time then doing that? Yeah. Because the alternative is, if you don't, they can become a detractor for your business. And that negatively impacts your business. Because if you bring the frame of reference of, this person in front of me falls into one of these three, or they know the person that does. And I guarantee if you service them and they only invest $200 with you over and above what they expected, chances are, if that person is currently looking and they mention it to that person, they're going to send them directly to you. Yeah. Questions with that? How are we going so far? Still following me? Just have lost it? Completely out of it?
Still there.
Still there? Just? And
There was an end.
haven't even had lunch yet, guys. Come on.
No problem.
So you're getting value from it so far?
Yeah.
Where am I? Something that I wanted to cover again. No, it's not coming to me. Cool, so we'll just get you to update what your niche is. Because I need the ability to pay for anything. And we can start to then, this is the example of the niche of Laura in Singapore. So she's looking at doing retreats as well. She's currently doing corporate training for people. She does corporate training at Apple. She's looking at doing other places as well. The LinkedIn office there that she's going to be starting to do some stuff with. So she works with people, females, minimum 120 grand. They live in Singapore. A corporate job, married with kids, 32 to 42. Why 32 to 42?
Because they generally,
No, you're
I was totally just jumping in there. Is she a similar age?
She's 20, same age as me, like 21 or something.
They're generally either, it says they're corporate.
Mhm.
They don't have too young kids.
Well, they've got kids.
Yeah, but not too young. So
Yeah.
not, generally, they're probably business owners, high
Yeah, so
income.
corporate.
Yeah.
Corporate, so they don't own the business, but they incorporate.
Because they have the ability to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And they're looking to improve themselves.
Yeah. So you're always looking to push that age up if you're looking for ability to pay premium. Because over time, the higher the age goes, the more likely they are to be earning more money. So if you can push it up in 1 or 2 years, makes a big difference. Because even up to the age of 30, people who've gone through like lawyers or something, they're paying off HECS debt and stuff still through their 20s. Well, they become married, cool, they spend their money on that, they've got kids and stuff, well, cool. Now, at 32, they've started to realise that their health's not as good, their energy's not there, chasing after their kids all day, every day.
And they're old enough to see the value in it too.
Yeah.
I find younger people don't
Yeah.
see the value in something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going through that. Cool. What we might do. Yeah, okay, cool. So the mistake that people make is they go in the wrong order. Can we go through mistake 2?
Yeah.
What was mistake 2?
Niche determining demographic.
Yeah, wasn't. And what was mistake 1?
Not having a niche.
No, priorities for the niche.
Our priority for the
So we create the niche first, then we create the core. From the core, we create the low barrier. From the low barrier, we create the free offering. From there, we create gold, silver, bronze. From there, we can start to create a P4C. This is where we start. There. Because none of that matters. Like, if you don't have the niche, then you can't link it to the core, can you? And if you don't have the core, then you don't reverse engineer the process to go, what's the low barrier offer for the product or prospect? And you don't give them the free information. It's going to link them to this. Because if we go back through the process, they have to go from here to here, to here, to here, to here. Because if people go, all right, let me find out about this, well, that's all well and good, but if they haven't gone through these processes, what's the likelihood they're going to convert on the core offer? Not very high. And I reject people my core offer if they make inquiries a lot of the time. Because they haven't gone through this process or they don't fit the criteria. So for this, they have to have been in the industry for 12 months. Because I know that I can get a better transformation out of people who've been in the industry for 12 months and they have an ability to pay a premium. So if someone's been in the industry 9 months, cool, jump on one of my other services, not this. Make sense?
Yeah.
And I know, all right, cool, someone makes an inquiry about this, what do? I go, cool, have you been through this? Have you been through this? Then here. Because I don't care if you want to find out about this, you've got to go through the process. Because I know that I'm going to get high conversions when I do that. Oh, I want to have a sales conversation about this. Awesome. Let's do that. In the meantime, check out this event. Check out this webinar. Check out this video. Because then they become pre-sold for this as well. Because if I'm going to get someone to invest whatever it is in my service, in my offering, well, I want to ensure that this conversation gets the best closing rate. Because I'm not going to turn up to that appointment if they haven't gone through these processes. Because then it's just going to waste my time. They haven't been vetted or screened here and here, then anytime that I actually meet with someone and put my time into that, the return's going to be low. And what happens is, in the PT industry, people get into sales appointments all the time with lowly qualified leads, which means they get low conversions to the core offering. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back to this, all that I'm doing is you have to go through this, and all this, and all this to move to the next step. Because if someone goes straight to this and they haven't gone through content, or they haven't gone through this, what's my closing rate going to be? Is it worth me even meeting with that person yet? Because if I'm pitching something that's over $2,000, they're just going to say no, because I haven't built up no like and trust factor yet. So what's the cap then? If you've gone through 7 hours of content, what's the maximum amount that you can pitch for?
You haven't gone through.
If they've gone through 7 hours of content, so it's like $2,000 plus, what's the cap?
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it becomes, all right, well, we need more content for people to be able to go through, to be able to go to the next level. What would that be? It's about 20 grand. So let's look at the retreat option. Cool. The retreat option's like, all right, you don't know who I am? All right, cool. Let's jump on a webinar or one-day event. That gets them through 7 hours of content. Well, then I need to get them through more for them to be able to go to level 4, which would then be the corporate training, which is the product for customer, which would be like, say, 100 grand in that instance, yeah?
Yeah.
But if you don't have this, then there's no point in talking about this. But the whole point is it just scales up. And if you think about taking proposals to corporate businesses, well, it's the same thing. You go through this, and then if you go on something bigger, if you're someone like Tony Robbins or something, and you can go in and do corporate training, how much content have those people been through? Well, he's going to be running events that are like 2 days, 3 days, a week long. What's he get out of that? Does he actually make money from those entry-level events? He makes it all the back end. Because then his private client's going to pay him $1 million a year to work with him. It's the same thing. It's just that he's got more levels that go down further. Every single business is based on a funnel. And PTs.
We could all be Tony Robbins one day.
Could be.
When's your book coming out? It's in the works.
That's it. PTs live here.
Yeah.
It can go like 10 levels down. And you can keep adding another level and another level and another level. And it's not really another levels. It's here and then goes across here. And then you might create a new funnel down and across. So what you do is, oh, I've got this revenue stream. Oh, I can do that down. While that's building out, well, I can do mindset over here as well. Build that down as well. And then about 2 core offerings. And then it's like, cool. Well, then I've got 2 core offerings. And then if I was to create PPC down here, you can see how it just builds out even more. And you can see how you can scale it to any level that you want rather than playing in here, which is, you know what this is? This is like charging by hourly rate. Every single PT out. Now, hourly rate just means that you're here. And that's part of the process. And the next step is, well, what's the next thing? Because if you're charging an hourly rate here, well, when is the point that you create a 12-month program for them? Or you offer them something that's 12 months they can commit to? So what must a core offering be? Full and remarkable. Must be time leveraged. This is not like, right, I'm going to work with you 3 times a week, one-on-one for the next year. That's not time leveraged. Because that means that you're still in low merit offer. You're still in hourly rate. Must be full and remarkable, all-encompassing. Now, ultimately, that means that it might be all about you. So you might bring in other people. So my core offering for the Peak Performer program, I'm one of 6 mentors. Does that mean that I do all the work? Nope. Must be full and remarkable, all-encompassing, time leveraged. Now, If it's not all me, does that then start to leverage my time? And people are willing to pay a premium for speed. If I was to say, I'm going to add $20,000 revenue to your business, and I'm going to take a year to do that, and that'll cost you $1,000, or I'm going to do it in a week, but it's going to cost you that first year of income. But then you earn that over and over again. You start to think about the options, don't you? You're like, well, if I was earning it for that amount of time, or, well, but instantly as soon as speed comes into it, premium goes up. So what are you providing to people? People are paying for speed. Are you providing it to them? Because they'll pay a premium for that. Make sense?
Mind boggles.
So what would a core offering look like then? If it has to be full and remarkable, all-encompassing, time leveraged, and people are willing to pay a premium. What's an example of that we've talked about?
Personal training.
Is that full and remarkable?
No.
Are people willing to pay a premium for that?
Or like a 12-month.
Yeah, 12-month could be one version of it. The one that we've been talking about the most is like retreats. People are coming for a week, they're paying a premium for speed. If you're going to transform my life in a week, people are going to be willing to pay 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 grand for that. Is that full and remarkable? Well, if it's just you, probably not. But if you were to bring in a mindset mentor, a nutritionist, if you were to bring in a movement person, if you were to teach them how to move better, if you were to bring in NLP coach, test them for genetics, all those things, well, would that be full and remarkable? And could you then start to add those things into like a 12-month program as well? Yeah. And this is what we talked about in terms of the factors that are included in terms of the scorecard. The first one is like genetics, nutrition, movement, mindset. Well, if they're all the 4 components, you can, one, learn those and add those into your business, and that can be your 12-month program. Or you can outsource it for a retreat or something. Or you can do both. Because if you know everything that's required, well, you can build up that capability yourself, and that makes sense. And, did you love that word?
I did.
Yeah. And you can then outsource that based on what the core offering is. So if you think about, all right, cool, if I do like mindset mentoring with people, and that becomes a core offering for me, and then I also have clients who are going to be running retreats, would it then make sense for them just to get me to come in, and then they pay me to go on holiday with them to do some work?
Becomes a powerful partners.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If I get Lori to run retreats and she pulls me in and says, all right, you're on the mindset component or you're on the genetics component, she can do that herself. She's genetics qualified. You can run the sports nutrition component of it. You can run this part of it. Or she can then pay me for a week to be that person that does that. And now you start to see the potential of it. Because what people do is they bring, all right, this is my hourly rate, this is where I'm at. So my charge out rate is, and that keeps you exactly in that low barrier or that product for prospect. And you can start to see what it looks like in terms of my business on the surface. Yeah. And then what's going on in terms of here, in terms of here, in terms of here. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And what people see is this. And what most people's business is just that, what you see. Because you don't see the apps for Apple, do you? And yeah, that's where the margin is. And you sometimes see the core for some businesses, sometimes you're not even aware of it. And this is how you create much more profitable business. Make sense?
Yeah.
So what would the core look like? What would a full and remarkable, all-encompassing approach look like for people? And the question is, do you have that capability currently? Because if you don't, then you just outsource it. But then, well, if you want that capability, then you go and build that capability. Because business is about two things. It's only ever about two things. Building capacity and building capability. That's it. Those two things grow and grow and grow and grow, and your business grows and grows and grows. You don't increase your capacity, it stays the same. You don't increase your capability, it stays the same. That's all that business is. Increasing those two factors, and it consistently grows. And the question is, well, how much am I increasing my capability currently? How much am I increasing my capacity currently? And how much have I done in the last 12 months? So it's like, all right, let's have a look at my business. How much have I increased my capacity in the last? Well, my capacity is probably more than 10x. And my capability, well, that's how much I've put into educating myself in my business. Well, where are we at? April to April. In terms of like going through all this stuff from the end of the last financial year to now, I would have put about $23,000 probably into increasing my capability. Because I know that expands my capacity. Because if I increase both of those at the same time, then it just continually grows and grows and grows and grows. Because if you don't increase your capability in learning about business or learning about this skill, then you just stay the same. And this is what most personal trainers do. They don't put time, energy, effort into that black. They don't put time, energy, effort into expanding that capacity. So it means the cup stays exactly the same and they just fill it up a little bit and it drops down a bit. Fill up a little bit, drops down a little bit. Oh, I'm getting burnt out. Oh, I'll drop it down a little bit. But the cup stays the same. The capability and the capacity stay the same. Any questions with that? And you don't have to build a core if you don't want to. If you don't want those results, you want to keep trading time for money.
You sound like someone I was listening to last night, actually.
Who was that?
I went to a health meeting.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going through my brain all the time.
Yeah.
It's good.
And this is the thing. How many personal trainers think about their business like this?
No.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different environment too. They're not in an environment. They don't work as a team, like individuals.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get in that environment, they don't see the value of it.
Mm-hmm.
They think training is it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really bad, I know, because I am a personal trainer, but it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to be at the top of your market.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Questions in terms of your core? So a core can be different things. It can be 12 months, it can be shorter, it can be like a retreat, it can be a week. So long as it's full and remarkable. So if someone like Corey was to create a full and remarkable core offering, who would you bring into your team for that, Corey?
Into my team?
Yeah.
I'd bring you in as a mindset coach.
Who wouldn't?
Is he paying you right now?
I have a psychotherapist that I'd bring in. I'd bring a physiotherapist.
Cutting out there.
Okay.
Psychotherapist.
You just cut out there. So just start again.
Psychotherapist.
Yeah.
Physiotherapist.
Yeah.
Massage.
Yeah.
Nutrition.
Just thinking of the ones I've got. Massage. Maybe movement.
That's it for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So she brings the genetic testing component to it. She's done that course. She's soon to be, in the next couple of months, qualified to go to write diets for people as well. So she brings that component.
Yeah, that's good.
So is that a full, remarkable, all-encompassing approach?
And it's done.
Mm-hmm. And will she do all the training for it?
Probably not.
Well, it depends. She'll do it to start. And that's what you can potentially create.
I've already got all ideas in my brain. Hands
And that's the thing. You can create a full and remarkable, all-encompassing approach. You can do it all yourself. You can.
Would you want to though?
There's benefits to doing it because then you have the capability. Then you can actually vet those people properly. And you can outsource it. Because I can tell you, I lecture on sports nutrition. I am part of the team that is going to be the new lecturers for the genetic testing that I get people to go through. I can build that capability. Doesn't mean I'm going to be the one that's going to run people through that. I can coach people on mindset. And I do coach people on mindset. And if I'm working with personal trainers, would it then be smart to then get potentially the top fitness industry NLP coach to come in as well? Because just because you outsource the capability doesn't mean that you don't put yours up. And that's the thing. Eventually, Corey will bring a dietitian to outsource that component. While she's learning that, increasing that capability in herself, she needs to do it herself. That way, she has that capability. That means that she can then pick the best person to go do it. And then, do I then go, oh, well, I can run this entire 12-month course? Well, yeah, I can. Or I can go, I'll run this bit, and then I'm going to get 5 other people to run their bits because they could be just that much better than me at it. Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah.
Different way of thinking about business.
Totally. Awesome.
And that's the thing. Most people aren't even aware that businesses are run like this because they see it as revenue. And that first level is, all right, well, where's the margin? And what do you think the margin is of a 12-month course then that I run? Well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends on how much I want to pay the other people and how much work I want to do. But then if it's time leveraged for me, well, I can have this core offering here where I've got this margin, and I've got this core offering here when I've got this margin. And then I've got, all right, well, I've got all of these people going through core offerings. Eventually, that means that's going to trickle down into more product customers. But if you don't have a core offering, it doesn't matter. And then it's like, oh, now I know why I talk so much about powerful partners. Because they're the ones who create the full and remarkable encompassing approach. Yes, you need to get that foundational skill set yourself. And if you think about someone who just runs retreats only, is it all about them, or do they bring in all of these other people as well? Yeah, because if it's all about them, well, then they can't really phase themselves out of their business, can they? And PTs, it's all about them and their time. Make sense?
Yeah.
So do you think my core offering for PTs would be full and remarkable? Well, yeah. Exactly. But if you think I know this, don't you think that that's what I would have created? Because if I start with this, well, am I only going to create it if it's this? And if it's not, well, then I'm going to find that. Because it's not about me. I only bring one aspect. Because even if you get better at something, like nutrition, or movement, or anything, there's someone going to be better. And you can be egotistical and go, all right, well, I need to be the best person, or I need to be higher than anyone else in the top 10%, but not the top person. Because then I can get the top person in, and then I don't have to do that work, but I take a margin. Make sense? Mm-hmm. I think we'll leave that after lunch. Almost ready to have a break for lunch?
Yes, please. I'm like starving.
All right. How long do we want? Yeah. Just go like half hour?
Yeah.
Maybe tell. Rain's gone 100 miles an hour and I can't cope. Coughing.